YouTube. It's 5:14 a.m. and I'm getting ready to pack everything up and get the heck out of this hotel room, which is gonna be awesome. And so I thought that I would answer a couple of questions that I received on Facebook about my illness. One in particular. You guys want to know what I've been up to the last 14 months since I started fighting Lyme disease. So here's pretty much the gist of it. Maybe I won't go into everything because some of it's kind of personal, some of it's kind of like involves people that don't want to be talked about and things like that or whatever. But here we go. So I was diagnosed back in April of 2016 by my primary doctor in Florida. He's amazing. And a little bit later, I started calling around. I called the office that he wanted me to call, and the lady who ran the office said that I wasn't sick enough for them to take me on. I did not at the time have a CDC positive diagnosis for Lyme disease, and they weren't testing for like Bartonella or Babesia. So moving on a couple of months, I started to call around to like every doctor in Florida like that does infectious disease, because I thought that was my next step, and none of them would see me because I didn't have a CDC positive diagnosis. But my primary doctor believed that I had Lyme, so I needed to see someone somewhere. And he recommended that if I couldn't get seen here, that I should go to Washington. And there's a doctor in Washington, D.C., who sees Lyme patients. And when I called, he had around a 6-month waiting list, plus also, he decided, not really he decided, but they, kind of, there's like a little bit of brain fog going on here. This is ridiculous, but I'm doing my best here. My hair's a mess, whatever. Okay, so, I did some research on my own and got on some different forums, and someone recommended a doctor to me in Maryland, which wasn't too far off, and I found out this doctor had the same protocol as the doctor in DC, which was awesome to hear. I'm just starting to get nervous because it's an airport day, and I hate airport days. Anyway, so anywho, okay, so I started seeing, that doctor, the doctor in Maryland, the one I see now, in August. And when I started treatment in August, I started on doxycycline and atovaquone at first. And then 2 months later, I doubled the amount of doxycycline and the same amount of atovaquone. And then we tried adding, oh gosh, what is it called? It's, it's an antibiotic that starts with a B, and it's not Bioxin. Bactrim. We added Bactrim. It turns out I'm allergic to Bactrim. He changed it to azithromycin. Turns out I'm allergic to azithromycin. So moving on from there, we decided that if I wasn't significantly better in about 5 months or so, we were going to switch to a PICC line and start IV Rosefin. I'm going to backtrack a little bit because in May of last year, I had surgery because I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I don't get my period, which it sucks because I still get like all the symptoms. I don't get the you know, bleedy part. So every once in a while they like to go in and scrape out everything and just to make sure that I'm not like cancerous or whatever. And I'm like, okay. But shortly after that surgery, I started experiencing extreme abdominal pain. And so I went to the emergency room and they admitted me because my white blood cell count was really high and started me on IV Rocephin. And I felt amazing after day 2. And I was on it a total of 4 days. And then after the 4th day, they took me off the Rocephin and I got significantly worse. And so talking to my Lyme doctor, it was like, I explained, you know, what the surgery was and that, you know, that this had happened shortly after the surgery and that they had put me on the IV Rocephin and that I had gotten better. My symptoms had shown relief, even for just that short amount of time, and I was grateful for that. But they didn't want to keep me on them because my white blood cell count returned to normal. Not normal, but normal-ish for what they were used to seeing every time I would come in with migraine and they would do blood work. So, gosh, I think I'm losing my voice maybe. But that's okay. We're going to do this. We're going to get through this. I'm sorry if it doesn't look like I'm looking at the camera because I can't stop looking at myself. Just super nervous. So anyway, we decided upon IV Rocephin again, and that was about a month ago. Traveling back and forth from Tampa, Florida to Rockville, Maryland, and I traveled up here, went to a vascular clinic and got a PICC line put in. The PICC line insertion process was easy. It's in a very inconvenient location though. I'm not a huge fan of where they decided to put it in, and I'm gonna kind of show you, so this could get graphic if you want to see. There's no blood or anything right now, so it's not like that, but I don't like the placement of it, and so this is like the insertion point, and then if you go to the other side, which I will show you, the lumens come off of that portion right there. So if you ever have to get a PICC line inserted for any reason whatsoever, try not to have them put it on your inside of your arm that rubs against your stomach when you walk. It's not fun. It's awful, actually. So if you get any say, I didn't because I didn't know what to expect, but I'm definitely getting used to it now, which sucks because I want to go back and go swimming and things like that. Things I can't do with the PICC line. But most recently I had a visit yesterday with my primary, or I'm sorry, not my primary, but my Lyme doctor. And he's going to make it to where that when I get migraines, I can stay at home and treat because I'll have home health. And all of this stuff that they use at the hospital anyway is non-narcotic. It's like basically Benadryl and some form of anti-nausea medicine and, you know, fluids and magnesium. And so he's going to give me all that stuff at home so that I can go ahead and treat myself. Sorry. It was like a Parks and Rec moment, only I didn't do it justice. I'm sorry. But that's okay. What else? So that's leading up to yesterday, and I slept for maybe like 2 hours, and then I've been up since like 2 a.m. and so I decided to do this video because it's all your question, and I wanted to go ahead and answer that question. And you're probably not going to really get an answer until Friday when I get home because the Wi-Fi here at this hotel kind of sucks a little bit. I'm not going to lie. It took me like 3 hours to upload a 12-minute video last time, and I don't have 3 hours to upload a video right now because I actually might have a chance at the airport. I might be able to upload it at the airport because decent Wi-Fi at DCA. But you know, I'm exhausted and can't sleep. But I'm just so thankful that this doctor, I'm not naming him. I mean, he doesn't really care, but I'm not naming him because I am trying to respect, you know, the whole Lyme doctor confidentiality thing, because, you know, he's an amazing doctor, and he's saving my life right now, and I am grateful, and I really, really, I want to say that. I mean, if you guys have questions, private message me, and I'll give you information about my doctor if you're interested, or if you're in the Maryland area, or if you are, you know, willing to travel this far. But, you know, as for, you know, saying his name out, you know, over the internet or over this video, I'm not going to do that because he, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But aside from that, I did want to say that I really miss being home. I miss my puppies. I miss Cameron. And I can't wait for this flight to be over. And honestly, it's not really the flight. I can't wait for TSA to be over. Every time something happens. So I'm going to try to make sure that nothing happens today. Like, I got my clothes laid out, and I'm gonna be wearing like nothing with metal in it. Nothing. Everything is gonna be like, yeah, it's gonna do well. Hopefully, we'll see. Yeah, I'm so scared. But you know what? This is a journey that I've been on my whole life, and I had no idea that I was even on it. I guess I can go into a little bit of detail also about, just in this video, about my tick bite. When I was 5 years old, I was playing in a treehouse that my dad had built, and we have this magnolia tree, and I would climb in it and, you know, be all up in it like a crazy person. And I felt something weird under my arm. It was kind of hard, and it was kind of just there, and I didn't know what it was. And so I freaked out, jumped out of the tree, ran inside, and showed my grandpa. And he at first didn't know what it was, and so we kind of just like let it be. So we really, you know, I didn't know what it was. They didn't know what it was. And so it was on there a couple of days before they realized what it was and pulled it off. And that was the end of that. Nothing else happened. A couple months, maybe a couple weeks, maybe like, I would say 3 weeks later, I got really, really bad strep throat. And I just attributed that to, you know, being a child and, you know, whatever. I never got a bullseye rash under my arm. Like, I would have thought that you know, for Lyme disease. Lyme did not exist in Florida. It still doesn't for most people. Definitely does for me now. But, I eventually, like when I was 6 years old, or 6 or 7, between the ages of 6 and 7, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And apparently that's the first like sign and symptom of a child bite, because it kind of changes like your behavior and how you feel about things. And I started on medication for the ADHD, and it gave me headaches, so I couldn't take it. So then by the time I was 11, I was exhausted. I couldn't stay awake. I couldn't, I was having a lot of trouble with, like, pretty much everything that I tried to do. Everything. Like, I wanted so badly to stay awake and to do things and to like just thrive, but I wanted to keep up with the other kids, and I couldn't. I slept basically through middle school, through high school. Most of high school I slept through. I mean, I did well, but I slept through most of it. I got really lucky. Then as an adult, like backtrack. When I turned 17, I started experiencing extreme joint pain, which I kept to myself a lot of the time. Because it was like whenever I would tell a doctor or my dad or, anybody, really, it was just me faking, me not wanting to go to school, me just not feeling like doing what I was supposed to do. So that didn't really, like, go over well with anybody. So, it's way too young to be having joint pain. Turns out that was like an arthritic slash fibromyalgia pain, that is probably never going to go away. And that sucks. So, okay. And then, when I was like 22-ish, 22 or 23, I, saw doctors at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, and, they diagnosed me with polycystic ovarian syndrome and a few other, like, they were just like, yeah, you're in pain, drug seeker, whatever. And I've never been, one to seek, medication like that, ever. I'm probably skipping some stuff, but then I started seeing my primary that I have now. I was still seeing my old primary also at the same time, because this new primary was going to be my sleep doctor exclusively, because I was having a problem with sleep apnea and I had no idea. And so I started seeing him for sleep apnea, and he's like, you got your CPAP, you're doing well with that, why are you still tired? And so he diagnosed me with narcolepsy, which thankfully he did, because the narcolepsy meds have been tremendous help. They've even stopped my seizures, which started happening January 12th. So, which is pretty amazing. Kudos. So then, anyway, okay, where was I? So I started seeing my primary doctor, and he's like, you're still tired though, so we got to figure out why you're still tired. And so he ran a chronic fatigue panel, and the chronic fatigue panel happened to include an ELISA and a Western blot. And my ELISA came back positive, and my Western blot came back positive with 3 or 4 bands, can't remember. But it wasn't enough to make a full diagnosis, even though most of the bands that were positive were Lyme specific, except for the Epstein-Barr, which I'm learning is actually pretty Lyme specific, because most people who have Lyme have had Epstein-Barr or EBV at one time or another, which is glorified mono if you want to get down to non-technical terms. So anyway, then he wanted to look into it further, and he diagnosed my fibromyalgia. And then I went back to my old primary and I was like, oh, so I think I have Lyme disease because of these results. I showed him my results, and, you know, he's like, he looked at them, he's like, maybe you were exposed, but you don't have Lyme. And I was like, okay, well, you're no longer my doctor. So I permanently moved all my records over to the new primary. So he's my primary and my sleep doctor now. So then it works out. I just have to see him more often and pay him more money, but it is what it is. I don't care. He's a great doctor. Spends time with patients, does what he needs to do. Kind of amazing. I mean, honestly, that's about it. That's about where I am right now. We're starting overnight fluids for orthostatic hypotension. It's when I stand up, my pulse gets really rapid. Hypo, I don't remember what he said. To be honest with you, I need to bring a tape recorder and write stuff down. Really, I do. I'm terrible. So at some point during this all, we started taking Coratem as well. So I'm on that now, and then Bioxin and other stuff. God, I'm so freaking tired. I don't have enough time to go to sleep. It's great. Well, anyway, so that's kind of like the story of the last 18 months and everything leading up to now. If you'd like to do so, please like and subscribe this video, and also share it on Facebook. Share it. Maybe my story can help out someone else. Also, if you know someone who's suffering from Lyme disease, give them a shout out this month. This is our month. This is the month that, you know, we gave ourselves, I guess. Take the Lyme disease challenge. Spread awareness. Do everything that you can to make, you know, to make this, to get well, to get us well. And by the way, I want to also mention that them removing pre-existing condition clauses from our health insurance policies is a crock of crap. I did want to mention that as well, because my entire body is a pre-existing condition, and you shouldn't be allowed to control things like that. Health insurance should not be like car insurance, just in case something happens. Because something is happening to me like all of the time. Almost all of the time I am in pain, or almost all of the time I am sick. So, when I have a good day, I am still a pre-existing condition. Anyway, I'm going to stop boring you. And again, remember, please like and subscribe, and share this video with others, with other Lymies, with other, you know, people that you think need to see this. And also, if you're ever in the area, hit me up. We'll hang out. We'll do lunch. Bye, YouTube.